Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System, the podcast where three intersectional feminists examine gaming through a feminist lens. This is the first episode that we're recording in 2024, so it's a brave new world, our fourth year of Gaming the System, and we're going to kick it off with a conversation between Alex and myself on God of War Valhalla, the DLC that was released last month for God of War Ragnarok, our opinions on it, our thoughts, our experiences, and all of that to come. Before we start, if you want to support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/gameofthesystem for some exclusive content. If you want to give us a one-off donation, you can send it via PayPal to us, to our email address, which is wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com. Right, now to business. I think we'll go through the timeline of how this happened. So I think Ragnarok came out in February, March, April of 23. It was either the start of 23 or the end of
I thought it was 22.
Yeah. So over a year since. How did you find out that the DLC was coming?
It was it announced at the Game Awards, I think, that it would be coming out in December for free, which was excellent news and quite a nice surprise. I thought that something might be being announced at the Game Awards because I follow Alana Pierce on social media, and of course she was one of the writers on God of War Ragnarok, one of the lower down writers, so she probably wrote some of the I don't know what she wrote exactly, but probably some of the stuff like the lore and the all about the creatures, or like the worlds in particular, or maybe some of the journal entries and stuff like that. But she hinted that there might be something coming at the Game Awards. So I thought, I wonder if it's some DLC, and that's where I heard about it and was very excited and messaged you the next day to ask if you had heard, which I think you did as well.
Yeah, so I'd been noticing on the God of War social media they'd been posting more regularly than they otherwise would have. And then this came out, and it was literally 2 weeks before they released it, which I think is a brilliant thing for them to have done. And for it to be free is amazing. An insanely unusual thing in the world of this, with stuff like Cyberpunk 2077 having the gall to still charging £50 and then another £25 for this extra DLC. And just to come up with this, I've played probably about 20 hours of God of War Valhalla in the last month since it came out, which is a testament to how magnificently well crafted it is. That it's not just another roguelike running around in circles, repeating random things over and over again with no story, and just slapped it together. And so finding out about it was awesome. Finding out about it's free, and then wondering what the scope of it would be. And then I think the download for it was 20 gigabytes, which shows the amount of work. And it's not just that they've managed to create a stunning little world in Valhalla, and on top of that, the story as well. It's probably in the top 3 DLC expansions that I've ever experienced, with the other two probably, one of them being The Witcher, with the Blood and Wine expansion. That was awesome. And I was going into it, I was determined to pace myself with it, because this is the culmination of an almost 20-year relationship for me with God of War. And we'll come on to why it's probably the end of Kratos' story in a little bit. What did you expect going in?
I think I had forgotten how good Ragnarok was. before I jumped in. I'm not really sure what I was expecting. Obviously, I knew it was a roguelike. I was a little apprehensive, purely based on your previous experiences with roguelikes, Matt. You don't like Returnal very much, and that's one of the most well-known roguelike games on PS5. So I was a little apprehensive, but I knew that if it's God of War, then it's probably going to be quite good. And I was completely blown away and immediately super excited for what was in store. Even after the first 2 minutes, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how good this is. How have I forgotten how good this is? And was immediately pulled into the story, this mystery. Like, obviously you start in the boat with Mimir, two bros out on an adventure, and you realise that Kratos has been called to Valhalla, invited by letter from an unknown person, which immediately, a sense of mystery. Who has sent the letter? Why is Kratos going to Valhalla? And I mean, it's just immediately captures your attention, which I thought was great.
Yeah, it's gripping straight away. And the biggest thing, the thing that roguelikes often they just don't have, is any new story content. They just have. So with Hitman, for example, their freelancer mode is a roguelike mode. And that is the best I've ever seen it done. I've been playing that consistently for the last year, and it's just magnificent. But there are the edges of these things where Diana, your handler, she always repeats the same phrases. So all they've done is basically just write. They've just had the actor come in and read a couple of lines, and then that's it. And that you can really feel that through the story of things. But if the gameplay is good enough, then it doesn't matter as much, because it's about the gameplay as opposed to the story aspect of it. But with this, it's an entire, like, a new chapter. Exactly. It's like an entire like new mini game, and the writing of the story is just magnificent. The acting, they brought the full experience of God of War into this. They didn't just go, oh, we'll get them to come in and record a few lines.
Yeah. No, they had these haven't they? So yeah. And I loved how it was a continuation of not just Kratos' story and him reflecting on his past, which was new for me because I'd not played the old God of War games, so I was equally doubly fascinated. But I'm sure if you played all of them, you would have got slightly more out of it than someone who hadn't, I'm sure. But there's also the continuation of the side stories between like Mimir and Sigrun as well, which was really cool to explore. I'm sure there's still more in because I've not quite. I think there is possibly 2 endings. I don't want to spoil myself too much, but there's a credits ending and then more after the credits, and I've only done a little bit more after the credits, so I'm sure there's even more story to unlock. And also just being able to chat to the Valkyries about what's going on in all of the realms. Every time you finish a run, it's like, oh yes, these things are happening now after the end of God of War Ragnarok. It's like, yes, let's continue seeing what's happening in this world. And it really grounds it and gives it like a sense of reality and like, yes, this did just happen, and now we're living with the aftermath, which is really cool to think about as well.
Yeah, I really feel like the world has changed, and we're living in the new world that has been created. One thing I'm interested by, him not having a companion, a combat companion. I think that's a brilliant decision for them to have made. I think it enhances the main thing is it's the best combat system ever created, because I found so many different ways to use all the weapons, and just the visceral, like, physical experience of it is unbelievable. And my favourite thing is when you swing the axe or strike with the blades, there's a pause, and if you press the triangle button, you immediately either frost awaken the axe or you start the full flame whiplash. And just every single time, just the swipe, the pause, and then the triangle is just unbelievably satisfying.
Yeah.
Just that thing. And then because you don't have a companion, you have to deal with absolutely everything on the battlefield yourself.
It makes you feel a lot more
I've started playing.
It? That's part of the part of what makes it so good. There's so many different angles you can look at. Like I said, I'd forgotten about how good the writing is. How good the combat is another thing entirely as well. Like you say, I think visceral is definitely a word to describe it. I'd forgotten about how just like violent the animations were, but in a really satisfying way. And you're like, oh my gosh, this feels really good to just like sock it to them and just be like, yes, I am the God of War. I am Kratos. Yeah, it's just really good. Can't think of any other words to phrase it, but I'm sure I'll come back later. Think of some more.
Yeah. Just Kratos is so powerful, and he's so precise. He's so fast. He's so focused, and just feeling like it's just you on your own with your weapons and your knowledge of how to use them. It's a completely different feeling to when you've got a companion that you can spam things at. And I find that experience in the combat, just I feel so in control, and it really just forces you, especially as you go up in the levels, to settle into a rhythm with what you're working with. And coming to of some of the roguelike elements in terms of the gameplay. So biggest gameplay change probably is that you don't have a companion, given that you spend the entire game and the entire first game with a companion, and then it really makes you feel like it's like you've lost an arm when you don't have a companion. And this teaches you that no, Kratos could do all of this. I started playing through the game again a bit, and I forget to press square because I realised I don't actually need it. So Atreus is always there going, oh, ready to go.
Yeah, because I absolutely spammed the hell out of Atreus when I was playing God of War and God of War Ragnarok. I was like, yes, Atreus, help me, all the time. But yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, thinking about how can I solve these problems as just Kratos. It does make you. That's what I love about the combat. It is almost a puzzle in a lot of different ways. Like the further you get on through each of the rounds, and what I love about the system is that it gives you so much. Well, not loads of choice, but it gives you that feeling that you're making choices and that those choices matter. You don't know what's going on at first when you do your first run, but then very quickly you realise, the weapon I chose at the start, it's giving me things to help with that weapon. So the choice I've made is directing my path through Valhalla, which I really liked. I thought it was a really cool touch. And the way you feel like you're influencing the world around you.
Yeah, I think that another brilliant gameplay idea was to make all your armor and everything just cosmetic. You go and you start and it's like you're at a default level. So you just start building up and you just go in with your weapons, and getting the randomly assigned perks and weapon additions and stats stuff and weapon stuff. I think that is absolutely genius because it inspires you to try and fight in a different way that you would normally fight.
Yeah.
So when sometimes I find that the spear is the best sort of overall weapon. It's sort of like a replacement for bare-fisted fighting. But if I go in and it is handing me a load of axe stuff, then it actually makes it a better strategy to swap to the axe and mainly use the axe. And then that gets me into the swing of attacking and then activating frost and then another attack and then throwing it and then it flying back. And just reminds you how powerful each of these weapons is in a different way.
It's almost the opposite for me. I think my comfort zone was kind of the axe and the blades, and the spear was not one I'd really warmed to in Ragnarok. I think because you're introduced to it quite a way through the story, and I just felt like I never really felt comfortable with it. But like you say, with the roguelike giving you that choice of either one or the other, I was like, okay, well, I'll give a run with the spear a go and see how it goes. And you do learn more with it. You get more comfortable, like you say, which is good because it is pushing you to be open-minded about your weapon choices as well.
Yeah, there's just something about the spear with. I've got my. Well, maybe we'll come on to this in a bit. Our favoured play styles and the perks that we hope for. The elements of the gameplay. Yeah, again, just opening chests is awesome.
Yeah, I know.
They managed to make. I've been looking at sort of like for my game design stuff. Like the ultimate puzzle game is Portal. That's the top of the list of every other thing. And at the heart of that is how fun it feels just firing the portal gun and then looking at yourself through a portal.
Yeah.
Then it just makes every single squeeze of the trigger satisfying. And they managed to make almost every element of God of War that kind of satisfying, like the way he punches through wooden chests and just rips open other ones.
I remember at one stage I was just about to start another run, messing around next to the Valkyries, and I decided to see how many different grunts Kratos could make just from like some raps. And I think he does about 8 or 9 different types of vocalizations. And I was like, this is where you know the voice acting is top quality. They've been like, we've got to make it feel like it's genuine. And so having 8 or 9 different grunts, every time you play through, obviously you'll notice that they're different. It's not just like some games where it's just like, Jason, like over and over. So I just thought that was like little touches like that show the quality of the work that's gone on for it. I mean, obviously that was true through the whole of God of War. But yeah, that's just one example of it.
Yeah, the biggest problem, well, one of the biggest problems that it's a problem with, it's not a problem, it's an element of game design that has to be cultivated, is not thinking of these characters, they're just a hollow shell that is just going through a gameplay loop. You've got to feel like the actor is there doing the thing every time you're looking at it to make you think, oh yeah, this isn't just repeating. He's actually Kratos as the character experiencing through these things. That's what you need to feel. And you get that from how he sounds in combat. And that's so true. And you just feel the energy and intensity that he puts into every single attack. It's not like he goes, he goes, And probably, do you have a favourite sound that he makes?
Probably the one with where you hold down R2 with the axe, and he does that swing where you go all the way around like a lassie, where it's like,
oh yeah,
like that. That one's a good one. That one's a good one.
One of my favourites is when you're doing Spartan Fury, so the one where you're just and if you press L2, he grabs a rock out of the ground and goes and it's the most over the top one of all.
Good. So good.
It's so much fun. We'll talk about the start of the story then. So before we know, I'm sure everyone will have realised by now that this is going to be a spoiler-full episode to a certain point. So we'll go through the story bit by bit until we get to a bit. So I'll keep on checking that you've got to the bit before I talk to you about it, in case I've gone forward than you've gone yet. So we arrive. Kratos and Mimir start off. I love their relationship.
So
they have such a
warm
relationship with each other.
About where it has a journal entry for Mimir, because it's completely changed from the entry in Ragnarok. Yeah.
Has it?
Yeah. Oh, you need to read it.
Say?
Yeah. Basically, in Ragnarok, he was like, the head is small and does not consume resources. Or was it God of War? I can't remember. I think it was Ragnarok. That's when Kratos starts writing the journal. And that was a hilarious line. Absolutely brilliant. And then in this one, he is like my brother. And I was like, so wholesome. It's so good. And it just shows how their relationship has become so close and over the course of that game and that time, and how they would basically die for each other now. And it just shows, like, this is your starting point. You do anything for each other, kind of thing. And I just think that's really cool. But yeah, you should definitely read the journal. In the menu.
Yeah, the journal writing, again, that's another element that is often just toss that off to a random writer to write things. But again, the depth of everything in the writing always feels special in this. The two of them just building up to Kratos calling him a brother at the end of one of the quests. That was awesome. And so you just feel like the two of them, they could just be in each other's company forever and never run out of things to talk about, which brings me on to an idea that I wish which they need, which Kratos and Mimir should have a podcast where it's just two of them just bantering.
Maybe about cooking, because I think Kratos likes to cook, as far as I remember. I read somewhere something. He's always cooking stews and things like that, isn't he? That would be a good one, definitely.
Yeah, I hope that they would. It's because most roguelike things, they get periodic updates with new gameplay stuff and things like that. It wouldn't be out of the question for them to continue writing new stuff and implementing new stuff and changing things. For example, have you finished Sigrun's storyline?
I think we possibly have. Is it before or after the credits that you finish it?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I finished it 100%, so I don't think you can spoil anything for me. So
basically, it's as far as Sigrun and Mimir are, it's got to the point where he was like, "Oh, we went on a date, and then I said the wrong thing, and we haven't yet resolved that conversation." I'm like, we need to talk about it some more, but he hasn't talked about it anymore yet, so I'm still waiting. But we do, and in the main story, obviously, she saves them, and there's this moment where she comes in and saves them after they I think they're like falling or getting stuck in Valhalla, essentially. And it's super dramatic and super amazing, that cutscene, and I love it. But she basically almost sacrifices herself to save Mimir and Kratos and bring them back out to the shore of Valhalla. yeah. So then after that, I think that bit is resolved. And at the moment, we're just talking to her about what's going on in the realms by the gates of Valhalla. But beyond that, we haven't talked any more about the date that went wrong, I don't think, if my memory serves. But I'd like to know if there's more.
Yeah, there is a lot more.
Okay.
There's a lot more. There's the pacing of the storytelling is another complete triumph, because they've got like 20-second snippets, tons and tons of 20-second snippets, each of which is magnificently written, like cut down to you care about what they're going to say next. You hope, what are they going to say some more?
What's happening now? We need to discuss this further. It is. I said to Tom while we were playing it, it is basically like a bunch of mini therapy sessions within one massive therapy session. Kratos. I was like, absolutely. My God, they're doing therapy with Tyr and Kratos. It's like, wow. Spoilers for Tyr, but we'll get to that part.
Spoilers, yeah. So we'll get on to we'll spend a couple more minutes on some general stuff, and then in the next half we can talk about the story and the fact that it's just one big violent wellness retreat.
Amazing.
That I would love. I just think would be wonderful. I'd love that. So what other things are there? Your preferred weapon is the axe?
Yeah, closely followed by blades, and then the spear.
It took me. I was the opposite. So I went with the spear and then the axe. I sort of forgot about it a bit, but then my second favourite thing probably with that is the glacial rake, which is where you put it in the ground and drag it through.
The sound like effects for that, where the ice pops up out of the ground, like it's really cool. Really cool.
Oh yeah, a big game changer for me recently is my sister. So I have like a normal sound bar, and I thought that was pretty good. For everything really, but my sister had a sound bar with a subwoofer, and I plugged that in to my TV to see how it made a difference. And honestly, it was like the difference between throwing a bullet and shooting it. It absolutely blew my mind, the range and intensity of sound that I was experiencing now. But it developed a fault very quickly. It started sparking at the wall socket. So it was taken away from me very, very quickly. And I waited and did some research and finally found a really good one that was in a sale. Plugged that into my TV and just had that whoa, and the ice spiking out of the ground as it goes along, and the stuff, just an entirely new. It's like it's reaching out to you and just going
so good.
All of it. So that is an absolute game changer, that experience. But that bloody thing developed a fault as well.
It's just too much. Powerful.
Again,
it's too powerful for its own good.
It's too much.
Wow. So have you got another one on the way, or are you not?
I've got to try and return this one first.
How long was that one?
So I ripped it out all the packaging.
How long did you have that second one for?
Only like a week.
Chances are you should, hopefully. I wonder maybe it's your plug socket that's the issue. Discuss
it's
engineering with Alex and Matt.
No, I don't like electricity. It scares me.
Yes. Hopefully that will
so I know
then. But
it's one of those things where you don't realise what you're missing out on until someone shows you it. and shows you how good it can be. Okie dokie. I want to put I've been meaning to say this, to talk about this since I first found out about it. I keep on forgetting every time you mention God of War. So this is a complete side little thing that we should have done in our animals episode like a year ago. And again, having started playing again from the beginning, just how important animals are in the story is insane. It's remarkable to include animals so much. And the first having your heart ripped out of your chest moment is obviously Fenrir. And starting, you see Freya coming in, and that opening scene with Freya is, we'll go on to this, we'll add this in a little bit as well to show how far she's come. She just runs straight at Kratos and tries to hack at him. And then the last thing she does is she's got her hands around his throat and just goes, and then he throws her off, and then she causes the entire valley to crash down on them. Just the amount of times that we are just shown how insanely powerful Freya is another remarkable thing. But onto Fenrir, it's hinted that he's a bit ill, and they think, oh, that's a bit sad. And then you go there, and then Atreus is there with poor little Fenrir. But the most brutal thing was, the way to experience this is I turned on the high contrast mode a while back to see what it was like. And so you've got Kratos is blue, Atreus is, I think, orange, and then friendly allies and things are green. So Fenrir was green. And then you watch the scene, and when Atreus does his spell to take the soul out that he doesn't realise, once he's done that, so in high contrast mode, the world is greyed out to make the colours pop more, and Fenrir goes the same grey as the world.
Yeah.
When he dies.
Not nice.
And that just made it so much more brutal.
That is shocker.
And I've wanted to get that off my chest for a while. So
you'll need another therapy session with Tara in a minute, just to talk about it. Oh.
Yeah. So and we'll save that for our next session. We'll talk about some story, talk about some characters, and we'll just have a little look under the hood. Thank you very much for watching or listening. You know, we release something new every Thursday. We've got a massive back catalogue, nearly 150 episodes, wherever you choose to get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Again, if you want to support us, you can go to our Patreon for some exclusive content, which is patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Or if you want to give us a one-off donation, you can send it to us via PayPal, sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.